Liberty TV.
Response, Chair. The Petroleum Authority began in the budget for next financial year. We have been allocated 106.868 billion, and we are required from these issues to show how they has been allocated in line with the priority of the non-wage component of the staff cost. Things like gratuity, NSF, workmen compensations there, and this takes care of the inland travel expenses and also the statutory meetings that the authority has to undertake as part of the regulatory work that we do as the regulator for the industry. The other one is on the ICT infrastructure. 44.84 billion has been allocated for that, and the major item there is the real-time monitoring center. Honorable Chair, remember you supported this and the committee supported this, and the Ministry Finance responded and allocated additional 28 billion to the PAU to ensure that the system that will be available, that the system for measuring oil produced and digital monitoring is available before first oil. And that resources have been allocated to that effect. And then the last item is the board oversight, 1.43 billion for the board oversight. Now, when it comes to unfunded priority, Chair, I'm on page 46. We have the table on page 46, page 47, and part of it on page 48. Chair, the unfunded priority now reduces to 51 billion. And I want to speak to three items on the unfunded priority, not all of them. The first item, Chair, the authority has been operating was bringing on staff as and when, in a phased manner, bring on the staff as and when there is need for them to do work in the field. We have been doing the development work. We are now going into the production phase in itself. We have been struggling in as far as the development is concerned with the monitors. We need to put in the field at any one point in time 27 staff of the authority in a shift of 21 days. And we're struggling with the numbers, and now when we go for production, we need to have more production engineers, more reserve engineers, more pipeline engineers, more geoscientists in place. And itself, they determine, the taxes will be determined, and all the share will also be determined. And the taxes will be determined, and all the share will also be determined. And we need to put in place the disaster recovery system, and that requires 22 billion. The other one, which is also a priority for us to look through, is a graduate trainee program. And Chair, remember when we are looked through, is a graduate trainee program. And Chair, remember when we appeared before the committee last time, we need up 2.98 billion for the graduate trainee programs, so that we are able to have a graduate training program is for 25 staff and needs additional 2.98 billion. So those are the three priority unfunded that we request one of the chair at the earliest opportunity, that when you engage with the budget committee, we should be able to see whether you can get for us additional allocation for the 51 staff that we need, the 11 billion we need for the 51 staff, and then the 22 billion we need for the business disaster recovery solution, and then the 2.98 billion that we need for the graduate training program. The other unfunded priorities can't wait, because to a large extent, really, the IT system, which is a priority IT system, has been taken care of. The other one is on the issue of the readiness readiness for first oil. Chair, the authority monitors the activities of the licensed oil company on a 24/7 basis. And we have the data and reports coming every day on a daily basis. So there's the numbers I give you, which are on page 48, and for the three major projects that we are handling, the Kingfisher development 3% away from the requirement for fast oil, 3% away. And the LPG facilities, which is part of the Kingfisher development area, is within the 3% away from the fast oil. And for the Kingfisher development area, Chair and honorable members, pre-commissioning activities already started for the facilities in the Kingfisher development area. So in as far as the LPG readiness, facilities readiness is concerned, it's only 3% away from, and that we think that within the next 1 month, when they continue with the pre-commissioning, the work will actually be done. For the Tilenga, we start working there. They are now working 3 shifts. Working also and I'm on page 50, Chair and Honorable Members, as the authority only on the environment, health and safety in as far as the regulatory work is concerned. So yes, we are on the ground in as far as environmental monitoring concerned. We are also complying with the environment law in making sure that we do it in line with what is prescribed in the law in terms also having the annual audit itself. When it comes to waste management, Chair and Honorable Members, I'm on page 50. Waste management is being properly done. Currently, we have Rural Industries is doing the waste management for Kingfisher Development Area. And then the Envirosurf is doing waste management for Tilenga. Now, what we ensure the regulator is that the waste that is coming out from the drilling activities are securely picked, securely transported, and taken untreated by Rural Industries and also Envirosurf. The disposal for what has already been treated is done in a manner that doesn't destroy the environment. So waste management as far as the oil and gas industry is concerned is being handled very well and professionally. And I hope members of the committee have had opportunity to visit those footprint and restoration progress. Chair and honorable members, the field development plans that has been presented and approved by the authority is to have minimal environmental footprint for the development work that's taking place. That's where there's a use for well pads. So instead of planting wells all over the place, all over the Albertine Rubble, the wells are drilled using a well.
Liberté TV. Your window to the world. 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 Liberté TV.
Life moves fast, but staying connected should always be simple.
Introducing Airtel Masaza Bundles. Fully loaded with more minutes, more data, more SMS, more value.
Cool, ma'am. Text the crew, stream your playlist, close that deal. All from as low as just 15K.
Choose the pack that fits your lifestyle.
Dial star 100 star 06 hash.
Or use the My Airtel app.
Airtel's Masaza Bundles. Best price, bigger value, zero stress.
All on Airtel. A reason to imagine.
When it comes to your health, you depend on the professionals to get it right. But when a healthcare system rewards doctors for repeat visits and multiple tests instead of your improved health, everyone pays. We've partnered with doctors
for the command center, that at least we have the command center in place, and then the other equipment that's required, and we will hope that at an appropriate time, additional funding will be made available for us to have the oil spill contingency plan and in place itself. What we are also doing as a regulator is to do training and capacity building for the district that have got oil spill contingency plan. That is for the Bulisa, for Oyema and Chikube. We have started training, doing capacity building, so that within the area of control, should there be a need for them to step in and deal with the aspect to do with the oil spill, they are able to do that. When it comes to health and safety, again, this is handled by a whole directorate within the PAU. We ensure that the development work being done is done and safety is taken care of. The health issues are taken care of, and we do monitoring and make sure that the plans, health and safety plans, are being implemented as per the plan that has been done. The other one is on the coordination work that we work with NEMA. We work very closely with NEMA. NEMA is the principal agent in as far as environmental matters is concerned for the country. But then for the oil and gas sector, what we are doing in national content monitoring, Chair and honorable members, the Petroleum Authority of Uganda does monitoring national content using one of the tools called the National Supplier Database. The National Supplier Database is a requirement that by the regulation, national content regulation, that for any company to supply goods and services to the oil industry, they should be registered on the National Supplier Database of the Petroleum Authority of Uganda, managed by the Petroleum Authority of Uganda. And they are not supposed to get suppliers outside that, and we, as a regulator, we enforce that, and we make sure that whoever is supplying goods and services, companies supplying goods and services, are on the National Supplier Database, and we monitor them very closely. Up to date now, we have 2,626 companies registered on the National Supplier Database. 2,257 are Ugandan companies, and then 369 are the non-Ugandan companies. So when the companies apply to be enrolled on the National Supplier Database, we go through a rigorous process to make sure that they meet the requirement for us to do. We review the incorporation document, we do the verification of tax compliance, and then we do also physical inspection. We want to make sure that those companies are properly classified. If it's a Ugandan company, you should be properly classified after going through that process. And if an external company, you also classify it as such. This is because Ugandan companies have ring-fence services, 16 of them, that they are not supposed to be provided by outside non-Ugandan companies. Now, it's only that if Ugandan company doesn't have the capacity to deliver the services within the 16 services, that's when they can go in joint venture. And again, the joint venture is approved by the authority, monitored to make sure that's working. Yes. Of the 16 items. Yes, we will give you the value of the contracts as well. Yeah. On page 59, there was a requirement for us to show the employment during the production phase. The table there will show you on page 56, total energies, the nationals, Ugandan nationals were 624, the expert were 336, the total employee there is 960. When it comes to SINU, the Ugandan nationals are 231, the expert rates are 136, the total is 367, and the EACOPs, Ugandans are 117, the experts are only 13, and then the total is 130. As the authority, we also monitor that closely and to make sure that Ugandans actually do benefit from the national, from the oil and gas industry, the resources that we do have. as part of the national content monitoring. Now, when it comes to capacity building on page 57, we do actively work with the Industry Enhancement Center to try and build the capacity of the Uganda small and business enterprises who are participating, who want to participate within supply oil and gas industries. So we do capacity building. Some of the areas that we do focus on are things like bid management, regulatory compliance, business diagnosis. Well, we help the business working together with the Industry Enhancement Center for them to be able to do that. The other one now, I'm on page 56, dealing with the update on cost recovery audit. 58, dealing with cost recovery audit. The Auditor General has audited cost recovery up to 2021. Now, we're also aware that 2022 and 2023 for Kingfisher development area, that has been completed by Dr. General. And it should have also been submitted to Parliament already. Only that on the side of the authority, we haven't received the report. That the audit for the Tilenga is going on for the period 2022 and 2023. In terms of the audit that has been completed for 2021, the licensees submitted an expenditure of $3.3 billion, and the one which has been audited and signed off by Dr. General as recoverable is $2.9 billion. That's 87%. The one which is deemed not recoverable is $439 million. That's 13%. The POU continues to work very closely with the Auditor General when it comes to the audit of the recoverable cost in itself. Government revenue for next financial year, based on the models, based on the economic reviews and economic monitoring that is being done, we expect government to receive 2.2 trillion Uganda shillings in next financial year. If the war in maybe I skip that one. You always pray. You always pray for peace, but sometimes war gives you opportunities. So if opportunity comes, we expect to see 1.4 trillion coming through, and that adds on the oil price will go up. Yeah, so that becomes an opportunity coming from the war. The other one is on institutional capacity. I think the last item is on institutional capacity on page 59. We are required to provide the structure, the field approved and field structure of the authority. The authority have a staff approved number of 278. As of today, we have 222 staff on board. That's 79.9%. And the table there gives you the information regarding the approved structure, the field, and the vacant positions. As of now, we are working on increasing the staff number based on the current budget for this financial year to 227. And that's where we are saying we need funding for the additional 51 positions so that we are 100% and we are ready for the production phase in itself. And that requires the 11 billion which I talked about. The last item deals with the recruitment plan. We provided on page 61 now, 61, 62. The 51 positions requires the funding, but we don't have money for it. It's just a plan there, and if the funding is made available, the 11 billion made available, we should be able to proceed and fill those vacant positions. When it comes to coordination, we work very closely under supervision of the ministry, working closely with the UNOC, with NEMA, with Uganda Revenue Authority, with Bank of Uganda, and the roles that has been played by the different agencies in this space is on page 63. The PAU does the regulation of oil and gas for the upstream and midstream. The ministry deals with the policy directions and guidance within the sector. The UNOC deals with the commercial interest. I'm on page 64, which is the last page I'm going to speak to. NEMA, of course, handle the issues to do with SI approvals for the projects. URA, we work with them closely regarding revenue collection, including taxes and royalties from petroleum activities. The BAU manages the petroleum revenue. The petroleum fund sits in the BAU. Then the Auditor General does the external audit and of course cost recovery audits. Chair, through my Honorable Minister, I submit.
Thank you very much. PS, you're going to continue. I just was amazed that our friend is very technical. You know, for each one of his departments, development and production, environment, health and safety, petroleum, economics, national content monitoring, mainstream department, ED's office, and so on. The positions that he projects to fill are only described as officer, senior officer, officer, senior officer. So, is that how you name your people, or these positions are actually described by title?
Okay, they have titles. Those are the categories. What we did when we were doing the filling the structure, we started with the executive director, brought in the directors, brought in the managers, brought in the senior officers, and then the officers itself. That's the category that we do have.
Okay. For you, what you did is you declared to us the categories of unfilled positions. You didn't tell us whether it is engineer, mechanics, and production, engineer what, you just... but it's okay. For this purpose, it suffices to say, we will ask you if we need to know more.
We will.
It's okay.
Thanks, Chair.
All right, thank you.
Chair will provide that detail. Allow us progress to Electricity Regulatory Authority, where Mr. Edward E. Ruda, on behalf of the CEO, will make that presentation on page 65.
Through the PS, I'd like to take you to page 65. The Chair, we are asked to respond on the following. Issue number 1 was to indicate how much revenue and sources for the financial year 2026-27. Chair, table 1 provides that detail. We are also asked that we should provide an outturn for the last previous 2 years. And table 1, Chair, provides that detail. I will proceed to issue number 2. We are also requested and asked to show the allocation in terms of expenditure across all the key regulatory functions. Chair, still the table below, it is also named table 1, provides the detail of how the expenditure will be allocated and distributed between the different expenditure categories. And that table provides the financial year 2026-27 with the outturn of the previous 2 years. Chair, I will try to go to issue number 3. Issue number 3 was to provide a strategy for sustaining the industrial tariffs at about 5 cents and what measures are being put in place to prevent shocks. Chair, we have a number of interventions which we have worked with the ministry, and I've outlined a number of them, but I'll just pick the few key ones. The number 1 is the implementation of the extra large category. Chair, the extra large industrial customer category has the lowest electricity tariff and includes those which are high consumption consumers with a maximum demand of 1,500 kVA. The list, Chair, is around 53 industrial customers. I've not attached there, but the key to note is that they consume 28% of the electricity that is generated. We have the declining block tariffs. This is for for also the large industrial consumers, where the chargeable tariff reduces as the industries consume more electricity, but it's also based on the predetermined consumer consumption threshold. Chair, it's 100,000 units per month. If they fall off below that, then they are charged the normal end user tariffs. The other intervention is also the tariff reduction pegged on demand growth. Chair, this works as follows: that the demand growth for those qualifying and eligible industrial consumers, they make commitments to increase the energy demand. And also, the guidelines are discussed with the regulator and it is determined. However, if this consumer goes below the required threshold and he fails to achieve the monthly target, they will be invoiced on the approved end user tariff. Currently, the industries which are falling this category, they are charged between 5.7 kilowatt hour and 6.8, depending on the time of use. Chair, the other critical intervention which the ministry, government, with support from the regulator has achieved is the corporation income tax waiver for Ujagari. We thank the government and the ministry that this waiver was given for 5 years, but subsequently we have received it for only annual waivers, and this will close on 30th June 2026. We request that we have written and requested for this intervention because it has been directly supporting our industrial category consumers, and it will go a long way to reduce the tariff of Ujagari, as it has already done for the last 6 years. Chair, I will jump these other interventions, but I will go to number 8. Another intervention, Chair, is on the list cost expansion plan. That's number 8, but on page 70. It is called list, not leads. List cost expansion plan. I beg your pardon, and sorry for that mistake. This expansion development plan is meant to accelerate renewable energy, but most importantly is to be able to identify the most economical power plant or project, and it also improves on the energy mix, and in the long run it reduces on the tariff. These reviews and expansion development plan entails regular review of the renewable energy feed-in tariff for transmission, distribution, and it helps us to have cost benchmarks which reduce the project costs. Chair, we have the other intervention is also the cooking tariff for domestic consumers, and also the last one, Chair, is on page 71, the direct purchase of electricity. Chair, this intervention is meant to increase on competition, and we have seen that the amendment, when it was done, it introduced changes in the bulk supply, and it also eliminated the single buyer model. This intervention, the regulations have been put in place. We have seen a number of the licenses coming on board, and we believe that this will reduce because the consumers will be able to directly buy from the generators, and this will improve on competition and also reduce the tariff to 5 cents. Chair, the interventions are many. They continue up and end on page 72. However, I would like to go to the next response we made with respect to the question that what are the specific regulatory actions the regulator is taking to reduce system losses, improve reliability towards beyond 98%, enforce quality of service on UDC and other licenses. Chair, there are a number of measures to reduce the tariff, to reduce the losses, and with regard to this, we have set the tariff performance parameters which were allocated to UDCL, and these are meant to incentivize UDCL to reduce this tariff, the losses to 14.5% in 2025, 13.6% and 12.3% respectively. However, currently the key initiatives that are being undertaken by UDCL is the single phase initiatives, These include the single-phase meter replacement with clustering all the meter boxes, and also they work against all the illegal connection. Generally, the wire will be one, the single box will be one, which has all the 3 wires. We believe this will reduce on illegal connection. There is a 3-phase initiatives where there are 3-phase meter audits, there are loss reduction campaigns, and also boosting accountability by rolling out boundary meters, which are undertaken to reduce technical losses. On reliability, Chair, the regulator has set mechanisms to ensure that UDCL achieve the target in terms of reliability. And if this target is not achieved, there is a penalty that UDCL or the companies pay, but also there is a reward if they perform better. And they are in 2 categories. One is the System Average Interruption Duration Index, which is called the SIDI, and also the System Average Frequency. How long does it take when power goes off, and how many times that's the frequency. We set targets, which I will demonstrate in the table 74. If you look at table 74, on page 74, there is a table, Chair. There's table 6. That table 6 shows what I'm talking about, that these were the targets, 86.6 times or 68 times, that is in a whole year. These are some of the measures. We have also made enforcement of quality of service, and there are regulations, especially on the time it takes to connect, and how the UDCL is handling complaints and outages. And also the regulator undertakes compliance monitoring and reporting on quality of service, especially on quality of service indicators, as I already explained. There are enforcement actions, there are regulatory directives, notice of non-compliance, and recently notice of intended to impose financial penalties, which I've already explained, that will be subject to based on failure to perform. There is a consumer protection measure. ERA has put in place consumer compliance escalating mechanism through the provision of several channels, social media, free-throw lines. Chair, on issue number 5, which is on page 73, the regulator was requested to respond on how the regulator is regulating expansion and performance of a new distribution operator on service territories following the end of Umeme. And this question is to the recent concession that ended and transferred to UDCL. Chair, the regulator regulates through a license, and currently UDCL has a license that is under the economic regulatory framework and provides the incentives to continuous improvement in efficiency. And the tariff parameters have been set for UDCL. Chair, the table back on the table 6, UDCL retains the financial benefit of exceeding the tariff parameters. And these tariff parameters are in table 6, which I've already explained. If it does well and is able to achieve them, for instance, I'll give an example. If you look at the distribution, operation, and maintenance cost in that table, that is $77.3 million, which they're supposed to utilize. If they utilize less, they get the benefit. If they utilize more, they don't come back to the regulator. Chair, I will proceed to 75, page 75. What regulatory framework incentives are in place to promote clean cooking, e-mobility, mini-grids? Chair, the first one, this has been done through the introduction of the Fumisayaka, the cooking tariff of the 70 units. If the first 70 units, the 71st unit will be charged 412 per kilowatt hour. If you compare with the current domestic tariff, which is 756.2, this is a motivation enough for now for the cooking tariff for domestic consumers. The regulator has also introduced the institutional cooking tariff. This is targeting hospitals and street lighting, especially for municipalities. This is part of to incentivize and promote use of electricity. On e-mobility, Chair, the Electricity Regulatory Authority is in the final stages of developing guidelines to provide minimal regulatory requirements for installation of the EV charging station for users and distribution licenses at points of interconnection with the grid. Chair, on the issue on the mini grids, we have revised, the regulator has already revised the isolated mini grid regulation 2020, but more importantly, the regulator has also established what we call light-handed regulation, easy to use, and reporting templates. Increase on the mini grid development. Chair, the other response, still on page 76 now, is how the regulator integrating the energy transition objectives, decarbonizing and so forth. Chair, the regulator has continued to emphasize the environmental, social and governance principles, and in the regulation, the regulator has undertaken and approved one we talked about already, and presented on the cooking tariff, implemented the refit policy to promote investment in renewable energy, invested in reliable improvements to reduce reliance on diesel-based generation. We have partnered with the National Forest Authority to support tree planting, implemented the off-grid regulation to promote productive use of energy, approved institutional cooking. Yeah, there is the minimal dispatch from the thermal power plants. I'm talking about the 7 megawatts for NAMAC and Electromax, and the thermal plants contribute. There is a gap there, but it is 1.6% of the power purchased by ECL currently. All those measures are meant to ensure that we integrate the transition. My last one, Chair. Energy storage systems. We are undertaking studies. We're about to finalize and see how well we can introduce batteries, especially to charge them during when we are not utilizing power off-peak. We know we lose a lot, so if the plants are generating during off-peak and they're charging these batteries and this power can be utilized during off-peak, it can also reduce the number of projects that can be developed. The last, Chair, was what are the mine governance compliance enforcement challenges that are being faced and what are the remedial actions. Number one challenge, Chair, is non-compliance with the liability and quality of service. This could be attributed to the current network status, which includes outages, inadequate notice of planned outages. There are delays in implementation of the improvements, of course, attributed to PPDA, but the interventions have been there, where we have already obtained application to some of our licensees to expedite the investments. There is inadequate and delayed regulatory reporting, Chair. By this, the regulator, we are transiting to digital regulatory information management systems, which will improve the reporting. The non-compliance with the requirement to pay license fees. We have a number of licensees who are not paying fees. We are also following that and enforcing this. On enforcement actions, Chair, I've already mentioned some of them, but just to emphasize, we have issued compliance directives and notices of those defaulting. We have continued to carry out our mandate and enhance the compliance through monitoring and carrying out audits. We have done targeted training and education of these licensees, because we realize that when you issue a license, there are terms and conditions, and some of the licensees do not read these terms and conditions. So we have gone ahead to do education and training. We have also clustered the monitoring of implementation of approved investment plans. The authority has gone ahead to field verification. So what we do annually, quarterly, we monitor and follow up on these investments which have been approved by the regulator and see whether they have actually been implemented. Lastly, Chair, we are strengthening our governance and monitoring and enforcement through a digital regulatory tool to enhance real-time oversight by acquiring some of the equipments and the regulator to ensure that we are able to monitor real-time. With that, Chair, I submit to the PS. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Iruda.
Chair, in my interest, if it's procedurally right, one of the officers in the technicals can surrender the report to me because I'm not keenly following and it may affect my questioning.
Honorable colleague. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So, Honorable Chair, we are doing well. We have 4 more to go. Allow us to invite Engineer George Mutetekwa to present Uganda Electricity Generation Company's reports.
We have here a TV that Mzee also watches, so he wants to see George there.
Good morning, Chair and honorable members once again through my PS. Good afternoon. Through my PS and honorable Minister. There are a number of issues two questions that you put to us in your remarks, Chair. One is related to Namamve, what was allocated. Namamve was allocated a supplementary budget of around 19.6 billion. This money was released by the Ministry of Energy to UTCL. But then I think there was some other instruction which I think UTCL was speaking to, and that money went to the thermal plant of Electromax. So at Namamve, as UTCL would never receive that amount, but UTCL will be able to explain since they are here. No, I'm just responding to the issues that the Chair raised. It's not in the report. Okay.
That is a very important statement.
Yes, it came from the remarks of Chair, so.
And that's why the Chair basically. It's very important. Chair.
Okay. On the responses on page 80.
Chair, I plead that he repeats that statement as he made it very important to this committee. It's not part of the report, yet he made it. So he can repeat it for the members.
Chair, other than being part of the report, you know that is one of the issues we handled during the last appropriation, and it is an issue that we are definitely interested in knowing why you made us manage your requests and now you're here lamenting. So it's a very important issue. You can repeat that issue so that we need to
So, Chair, I beg we continue with what came before, and then we can discuss that one later.
We want him just to repeat the statement. Just
We lose nothing.
Honorable colleague, I think in his statement he said UTCL would make more clarification. So let's wait for that time, hoping that he will still be around.
Hope you will not forget
Thank you, Chair, for your guidance. I'll go to the responses on page number 80 of the report. The first issue was on what is available from the power plants under UGCL. We have Nalubare, Kira, Isimba, Karuma, and Namave, and the numbers are in the table there, and the parameters there, with a total installed capacity of 1,213 megawatts for that. And I put notes there to show how these, what is available from these power plants. On issue number 2, in terms of revenue expected from the sales of energy, we have a table now there on page 81, what we project and what we expect to collect. And Chair will notice that we have some shortfalls on Karuma. Isimba, it is more of a projected shortfall, but it's because of the works that are going on. We still have a number of outages that are being done. Nothing much from Nalubare, Kira, and Namave is largely standby plant. So most of the shortfall is on Karuma, and we put the explanation because of largely demand, but also we have a few issues in terms of floating islands that normally disturb us, which is also being handled between us and the contractor, and also with support from the Ministry of Energy. On page 82, the expenditures that are expected in relation to UGCL and the projects, we have a table there that has the details for the various power plants, what we expect and what we put in the budget, Chair. On issue number 4, in terms of contractual obligations and disputes on Karuma and Isimba, Chair, we currently have no contractual disputes, but we have, of course, incomplete scope of work, which is being addressed, especially at Isimba. We have the issue of the spillway and outstanding snags that have to be fixed, and that a lot of effort has been put in between the employer, the Ministry of Energy, the Attorney General, and us and the contractor, and we expect works to continue with that. And so the rest of the things that we need are usually the CDAP, Community Development Action Plan, and outstanding works for example, facilities for staff that we need at Isimba. In terms of the issue number 5 on page 83, our medium term generation plan and our role as UGCL in this. Currently, we play a supportive role to the Ministry of Energy, and there's a number of projects that are in the pipeline, which we have listed on page 84. We have Kiba or Yang. All these are projects that are at various stages of feasibility, and a number of other developers who are interested in seeing that they do work on this. As UGCL, we have solar that is in the pipeline that we are working on with different partners. Then with the Ministry of Energy, there's still potential for thermal to be exploited. We still have some small work on Maziba. Chair, this is not new to this committee. It has been here many times, and we think that we should have to rehabilitate that. And we have a small project on waste to energy and a small hydro called Okolachere that has to be worked on. On page 85, there was an issue related to climate change. How do we and how do we ensure resilience and manage sediment in our facilities? This pertains to the hydro plants largely on the River Nile. In terms of the dams, we ensure that we can manage the flood that can possibly come, and we continue to do reviews. That's why we are concerned with, of course, the issue of the Simba spillway, and we do various monitoring and monitoring of even the sediment which we have to monitor in our reservoirs. So, in terms of social guards, we are compliant as of now to NEMA. We do our audits and make sure that all the environmental social guards are taken care of. On issue number 6, it deals with, on page 86, it deals with our operations, directly the day-to-day operations, to ensure that we are efficient with what we have, and the outages that might affect supply of generation are minimized. The big plan we have at Naluba and Kira is to do rehabilitation, which we are working on with some government partners on that. And of course, on the Simba Karuma, it's to continue to handle the snags and close them out because they're still in the projects. They are newer plants, so we don't have a lot of disruptions apart from the outages that are contractual that we have to do. Issue number 7, this relates to planning of the same outages. On page 87, our roles are clear in the power purchase agreements we have with UTCL, and that coordination is done by UTCL. We cannot take out a unit without approval from UTCL, but also if we have, let's say, a forced outage, for example, something happens on the plant, a pump fails, our role is to ensure that we inform UTCL, but also reorganize internally to see that we maximize generation from other plants that are available. So that is our role. We don't have a direct communication with UTCL because UTCL is the one who sits in between of us, but we sit together in many of the coordination committees whenever we have issues that require our attention. In terms of human resource development, on issue number 8, page 88, Chair and honorable members, we have a robust plan to develop our people. Uganda is full of young people, and we have a plan to ensure that we continuously scaling up our staff. And in terms of numbers, as you can see, we have around 20 billion set aside to ensure that we continue developing our people over the number of years. And we have put the details there, Chair. Those were the 8 issues, Chair, that were asked of us, and the responses. Chair, Namamve is a standby plant, and it is a very critical plant. We have been supported by the regulator, ERA. They have given us around 32 billion, which we are right now putting into the overhaul of the plant. Ever since takeover, because of the issues related to the funding of Namamve, ERA had to step in, and they have allowed from the tariff around 32 billion, which we are using, and we have 4 units that we have worked on. 2 are already done. 1 is undergoing overhaul right now, and the next after that, then we shall be left with 3 machines. Yes, there's value for money, a lot of value for money, Honorable Samba. Whenever we have disruptions on the grid, vandalism, you've seen, we have cases of vandalism, we have cases of floating islands. Whenever we have such issues, Namamve is the go-to plant and has supported, for the last years, continues to support the system to make sure that we don't have total blackouts in Kampala and the surrounding areas, and also for Blackstart. Yes. Yes, in terms of energy mix, Namamve is a key. The Ministry of Energy also has a plan to ensure that we expand even on gas, so that we have more, even generation from gas. Because as of now, the biggest generation is from the River Nile. Even all the other plants that we've talked about, Ayago and Kiba, they're all in River Nile. So if we ever have a drought, then you're in trouble. So it's important to diversify, have more solar, and have more geothermal and gas generation. That is part of the National Development Plan.
Just wanted to add information on Namamve, Chair. Namamve currently uses HFO, heavy fuel oil, and the future is hostile to this kind of fuel. So we are now discussing converting it to use natural gas, but that is not for this budget. But just for your information, feel bad using HFO, much as it is a security plant, but 50 megawatts consume a lot of HFO, and we have to take care of the environment.
Which was giving interesting figures as Engineer George was speaking. In his the table on page 81, when they talked about the projected energy cells and capacity charges, and when you look at Namamve vis-a-vis Naluvale, and you see that the Namamve is a little bit much higher than it is in the case of is it here? No, it's when you check the capacities, Naluvale gets us 347.3 megawatts, and then Namamve gives us 42. But when you go into the aspect of revenue, the other ones are giving us much less, and then these ones with a 48.9. So definitely a concern about Namamve is a very valid one.
Just a standby. Yeah. We don't continuously generate. Yeah. Yes.
No, but Honorable Sambai, you fought with the minister over that Namamve enough in the 10th Parliament. So in the we finished that way in the 10th Parliament. So you shouldn't go back to school.
I won, yes, together with you.
I think we'll have proceed.
Okay, Honorable Chair, before I invite the CEO UETCL, in order to give a bit of context, allow us to speak to the Electromax issue, and then UETCL will pick on what they are doing with Electromax. As a background, in 2023, UETCL entered a power purchase agreement with Electromax for the 50 megawatt plant in Tororo. And similar to Namamve, we took a policy decision to maintain these 50 megawatts as a security plant. So as part of that, the ministry further entered an implementation agreement with Electromax in 2023. And our commitments under the PPA require us to service through capacity charges certain allocations and funding to the company. So the question you posed to UEGCL on the reallocation that took place from Namamve to Electromax arose from the dire need for us to meet our contractual obligations. And Ministry of Finance, the PSST, we did raise a request for supplementary, but it was constrained. He guided that we reallocate in order for us to service that obligation. So I needed to give that background as UETCL comes to make their presentation.
Yeah, one small question. How small is it? Very small. Thank you. Madam PS, I always find it a challenge to understand, and you can help me understand, whether electricity generation is not profitable at all. Why am I asking that, Chair, is that we buy from Electromax through our company, or UETCL buys power from Electromax. Why do we keep funding Electromax when they are selling How are they generated?
So, Honorable Samba, you will recall how we ended up with some of these thermal power plants as at the time part of our energy mix when we had deficits in our generation. That's how we onboarded a number of thermal power plants. And today we are not operating them on a daily. They are security plants. We only keep them for when there is a deficit in our generation capacity. So, and in terms of what we've done with this particular arrangement, we will phase them out at some point. For Namamve, you already highlighted, we'll convert it from heavy fuel oil to gas. And then for Electromax, we'll probably take a similar direction because we entered a build, own, operate, and transfer. So they'll be transferring that, and they will probably assign UEGCL to take on that obligation, and we convert it one day. So those came in at that time as part of government's plan to meet the deficit that we had in generation. But otherwise, the generation business is a very viable business.
But Electromax is not. Why is Electromax not viable? Because you're keeping these generators. I remember the time when we had so many power outages, and I remember Electromax came as a private investor who came in to provide a solution. But every time we spend money on generators that produce how much megawatts does it contribute on the national grid? Not even 50 megawatts. But we continue investing a lot of money in generators which are doing nothing at the moment. Otherwise, where I desired that it would make a lot of sense is if these generators can generate power sold to UETSL and they make money. Because then they will make sense to the public.
Okay.
Yes.
So that we can be on the same level. Matters concerning security, when do you prepare? Do you wait for the enemy to attack? Then you buy equipment, you buy guns, or you invest money and buy the equipment to be on standby to wait at that unfortunate time when you are attacked. These security plans, energy security plans, are costly. And for a private person to really invest money expecting to get some profit, it may not arise. A plant which stands there waiting for a call when, for example, a weed has attacked Karuma, and so one unit is switched off, or 2 units are switched off, you have to call on this standby plant. But you have to be maintaining it so that when that time comes and you are calling on it, it can serve you. So you have to plan for money to invest in servicing and also payment of staff who are there servicing these plants. So I don't know at what time shall we completely abandon this seemingly not profitable business. But if you put value on the rescue these plants really do, the business might be profitable. You've been rescued, you've been restored production or generation because this standby plant has come in. So it pains, but to be safe, you have to, your stores must have what to secure you at that point of need.
Mr. Chairman, allow me.
Honorable Samba.
Allow me, Honorable Minister, that story was very convincing. Remember at the time when you had no Karuma, It was a very good story. When we had these mini hydropower stations, it was a very good story. But now that we are paying a lot of money in dimmed energy, I doubt whether it still makes an appeal. You remember how you came to us and you convinced this parliament that we need to buy this Electromax. We need to invest in it because of ABCD. But now, I keep asking myself, if the generators are lying non-productive,
I think Madam PS. Oh, okay, you finished. Because you were saying that there is a dim energy, so I will need to get it clear.
Chair, these generators would have made a lot of sense if they are contributing to the national grid. But they are lying non-productive. Meanwhile, we are investing a lot of money every financial year in maintaining them. Why don't they contribute to the national grid? And then we know that probably they are there making contribution.
Okay, can we have...
Otherwise, if they are very expensive, it means we may not need them.
Okay, Madam PS, can we have a response to that? So that maybe in terms of the costs, so that we get to understand the very expensive Honorable Samba is speaking about, but also from the perspective of vandalism. If you drive from Karuma to Atiak, Anaka, between the bridge at the corner there, Ayago Bridge, to Agum, right now you will find about 4 or 5 towers vandalized. Now, if that vandalism cut off that area, I think a situation of those generators would suffice. But at what cost? I think it will be important for us to understand the cost so that we know if we are... Yes.
Honorable Chair, we can give the costs, but it's important to note that these generators are running on heavy fuel oil and wouldn't want to keep running that on a daily, given the cost of running that kind of fuel. So that's why we call on them when there is a deficit from the cheaper options that are on the grid. So we are happy to provide any details in terms of the figures, but that is the issue. Ensure the energy security, call on them when there is a deficit. Okay, so we'll provide the figures to satisfy Honorable Samba. Oh, and the country.
Okay, please provide those figures for the committee for further scrutiny. Can we proceed?
So we'll invite Engineer Matsko to quickly take us through the UETCL segment. And he can now skip the Electromax.
Thank you, Chair, honorable members. I quickly run through the UTCL submission in line with what the committee requested. On the first one, it was about the length and configuration of the high voltage grid which we operate. Page 5.
Just CEO for guidance. For guidance, you'll work with the report that we submitted to the committee on page 89.
Page 89. That is where our submission is on the length of the transmission grid we are operating, standing at 5,295 kilometers. Total total number of substations are now at 43, with a transformation capacity standing at 7,170 MVA. Next financial year, the addition to this, we expect to add 262 kilometers of network or transmission line at a 220 kV transmission level. This is specifically to enhance exports or imports to Kenya, as the case may apply. The revenue, UTCL revenue, we derive it from the bulk supply tariff, and ordinarily, the revenue we project is adequate to really pay off the generators and also meet our operational costs. In the next financial year, 26-27, we project revenue of approximately 2 trillion shillings. Of this, 90% of it will go to pay generators, while the 10% covers our operational and maintenance costs. Chair and members, it's important to note that the current tariff structure does not provide for recovery of capital investment costs. Transmission infrastructure expansion and grid reinforcement are therefore financed separately through Government of Uganda counterpart funding and support from development partners. On which major projects we are implementing, which are ongoing. This is Karuma to Tororo 400 kV. We have the Kampala Metropolitan Transmission Network, the Industrial Park Transmission Infrastructure, and then we have regional interconnectors, Tanzania, DRC, and South Sudan. Ongoing projects, as I mentioned, we have the Kampala Metropolitan. Details are in that table on page 91. The Kabale Park, we have a substation we are putting up, and progress stands at 75%. Sukuru in the east, progress is at 95%. And the electrification of the industrial parks, category 1 consists of 3 proposed, which are Kapeka, Mbale, and Sukuru parks. These are substations, and works 3 unencumbered UTCL substation sites will commence immediately. As per the EPC contract, the contractor shall be expected to complete lots 1, 2, and 3 within the 18 months, and these consist of transformers rated 3 MVA at Kapeka Industrial Park, 3 transformers MVA Mbale Industrial Park, and 3 transformers 8 MVA maximum at Sukuru. The category 2 projects proposed, the projects consist of 4 proposed substations and 2 proposed transmission lines as per the EPC contract. The contractor is expected to deliver category 2 projects within 36 months immediately, for projects under category 1 and acquisition of associated land, category 2. Lot 4, we have Woblenzi, we have 2 transformers, 250 MVA. We have also 2 at 80 MVA, these are 220, the 250 are 400, 220 to 33. Lot 5, Kapeka Industrial Park, we have 2 transformers, 122, 125 MVA, 200, 13233 voltage ratio. Lot 6, Nakasongola Industrial Park, 40 MVA, Lot 6, MVA, 2 transformers, Kaweweta. Lot 8, approximately approximately 33 kilometers of 220 kV double circuit from Wobulenzi to Kapeka, and Lot 9 approximately 123 kilometers of 132 kV double circuit Nakasongola to Kaweweta and through to Kapeka. Karuma Tororo, and construction of this is yet to begin, but we are now in the compensation phase. The 400 kV double circuit transmission line spanning approximately 347 kilometers between Karuma and Tororo. A 220 kV double circuit loop-in, loop-out transmission line, Tororo Lesos to Tororo border substation, spanning approximately 400 meters. And the 132 kV double circuit loop-in, loop-out transmission line from Namambe, Kampala North, transmission line to Tinda, spanning approximately substations at Tororo. We have the 400/220 kV Tororo border, and then the 132/33 in Tinda substation, and also expansion of the existing 400 to 132 Karuma substation to accommodate the new transmission infrastructure. Members, we also have the Uganda-Tanzania interconnection project. We shall have under this, we have 92 kilometers of 400 kV double circuit from New Masaka substation to Mutukula. We have 165 kilometers of 400 kV double circuit from Wobulenzi to Masaka new substation. And the total distance on the other side is 257 kilometers. For substations under the same project, construction of the 400/220 at Masaka substation, extension of the proposed 400 kV substation Wobulenzi with the two 400 kV line base to Masaka. We have Uganda South Sudan at 400 kV, and we have 149 kilometers from Orio to Kipia, Elegu border, power transmission with a fiber optic, extension of Karuma substation to accommodate the two circuits, the double circuit we are talking about, and also upgrade of Orio substation to accommodate the line from Karuma and then outgoing to Libya. Also construct the new 400/132/33 substation across the border with South Sudan. Chairman members, we have ongoing projects to upgrade or enhance capacity around Kampala Mutunde substation. This is ongoing, progress 14%. Upgrade of 132 kV 11 transformers, they are being upgraded to 40 MVA. 2 132 kV transformer base and 2 11 kV transformer base. Also 10 on 11 kV feeders are expected to be incorporated or upgraded. 6 33 kV base, including their control, protection and civil works. At Kawanda, upgrade of the substation, that's the 132 kV 33, with the two transformers, each 8 MVA, 132/33 power transformers. Masaka Mbarara, we propose to construct 135 kilometers of transmission line, 400 kV, initially to be operated at 220. This project is just pending signature of the EPC contractor. The consultant is already on board. On issue number 4, concerning main land acquisition, UTCL continues to implement land acquisition and right of way, but the challenge here, Chair and members, is the gap we sometimes experience on counterpart funding, delays to receive counterpart funding from government, sometimes delay these projects, and at times we incur costs from contractors due to idling claims and the rest. So the main issue here would be really the slow release or delayed release of counterpart funding. Vandalism, we are using a multi-pronged approach, including working with government security agencies. We are also replacing some of the easily vandalized towers with the more robust ones in areas that are vulnerable, and we continue to engage with all security agencies to combat this vice. However, we also try to stock adequate number of spares to continue replacing the vandalized parts. Impact, of course, it goes without saying. The cost weighs heavy on us as UTCL, but of course the impact cascades down. For instance, the incident in Mukono, waterworks couldn't pump water and several factories were off for more than a week. On the issue on what we are doing about maintaining a high reliability and availability of the system, Chair and members, the intervention areas are on page 100, and we are upgrading those substations as listed. We also optimize transformer deployment. We continue doing routine maintenance work. Also do asset rehabilitation, specifically on vandalized towers. Issue number 7, on how we are doing with the regional interconnectors. 101, page 101, at the bottom we have a table that shows you on average export on each line. Kenya stands at 70 megawatts. Tanzania average 43, Rwanda 80 megawatts. DRC is a small one. As you realize, the voltage is low, and so is South Sudan.
CEO, this table here, why didn't you give us another column which talks about revenue generated? It is okay for you to tell us where it is going, the direction, and then the remarks, but now the other side.
Chair, that is noted, but we can provide it. We shall provide that information. Thank you. I think the chair wants it segregated. Yes. Okay, otherwise we had lumped everything together. Issue number 8, the key funding gaps. As I mentioned earlier, the key funding gaps really mainly delays in release of counterpart funding, which affect timely access to project sites, contractor mobilization, and continuity of works, which in turn can lead to project delays and cost escalations. Also, exposure to contractual claims. This is particularly critical for RAP implementation, where delayed compensation directly impacts construction schedules. On issue 9, the plan for system operation modernization, Chair and members, I am happy to report we have upgraded our SCADA system on a phased manner, and the last phase we are going to implement in the coming financial year. And on page 104, we have a table showing the components of this upgrade, and With it, many more important to note, we are going for the first time to have a backup control center, which in case we lose the main one, the backup simply may be used to continue operations and monitoring of the system. Chair and members, I submit. Thank you very much.
Yes, before I forget, is my friend back? Petroleum Authority of Uganda. Oh, you are there. Okay, there was a question that I needed to ask so that you keep it as part of what you help you with. It is in line with the difference between disaster recovery data and then real-time monitoring system. If you went to a person that does not regularly sit in this committee or in your meetings, and then you told them that I need money for the data recovery center, at the same time you tell that person I need financing for the real-time monitoring system. So this person may go away and rise up and ask you, so do you mean the real-time monitoring system cannot give you, cannot recover data and let you know what status there and vice versa? What exactly would you use as key distinguishing features of what these two systems are, and how do you deal with the necessity for both? So later, you just take note of that. I had forgotten it the other time. Yes, please.
Okay, we'll respond to that later. Chair, allow me now invite the Managing Director, UEDCL, Mr. Paul Mwesigwa, to respond to the issues on page 105, and in addition to any earlier issues that you raised. Mr. Mwesigwa.
Thank you, PS, through my Minister. Honorable Chair, the report that I'm going to take member 3 is on page 105. Page 105. The first issue that was raised here was in relation to the following completion of Omeme concession. What is the current UEDCL network coverage, the customer base, and the energy loss? As of this year, Chair and members of Parliament, the current network is at 92,190 kilometers across the country, with a customer base of 2.7 million. Since we took over, we've added 234,000 customers. The current energy loss weighted average is at 18.1. Our forecast by end of 2026-2027, the network will be about 146. Why? Because now we've activated new connections on one pole services, which we are targeting to connect up to 150,000 on an average addition of 0.12 kilometers per customer, plus also transformer injection, which we are targeted to inject about to 600 to 700 transformers on an average kilometer length of 2 kilometers per transformer added, plus other requisition of network that comes on board as the customer's demand. On the customer numbers, we expect to be at the 3.3 million customers. Why? Based on the agreement we signed with the Ministry of Energy on ESP, we are supposed to add 890,000 customers in 2 years. And the mechanism has been put the ground. Luckily enough, we've activated the customer awareness, and in the pipeline we have about 440,000 customers in the pipeline for connection. The same applies to energy loss target as given by the regulator of 12.3, but this one requires a lot of investment and project execution. Chair, the second issue that was raised, that how much revenue do you project to collect from electricity distribution, excluding bulk supply, sales, service charges, and etc. On page 105, we put a summary of our revenue, how we performed from July to December 2026, and also our projection from January 2026, how we shall perform from July to December 2026, and the projection from January to June 2027. On average, total expected revenue will be 2.4 trillion, but if we add all the revenues, including other fees plus inspection, we are projecting a total revenue of about 2.6 trillion, with a corresponding expense totaling to, in terms of cost of supply, the money we paid to transmission of 2.1 trillion, plus other expenses totaling to 339 billion, with a total revenue balance which we are planning to deploy on capex or investment in line with the investment approved by ERA of about 207 billion. Chair, specifically on this note, allow me to update that most of our money that we collect is payment transmission. And as of today, we've paid all our bills to zero. The third issue that for 2026-2027 to strengthen the distribution infrastructure, including substation, upgrade, new lines, transformers, metering, and ICT. In the same table, we've included a schedule summarized, but we have the details. The total number of projects we plan to implement under our capex, for example, 2026, adds to about 812 projects, but categorized into work in progress, growth and access, reliability, quality of supply, metering, access, and new connection. How are we planning to get this money on board year by year? Our total projection that we are planning to spend in the next 5 years to normalize stability is about $951 million. On a yearly basis, 130 for 2026, 187 for 2027, 154 for 2028, and 144 for 2029, and 2030, 119.5. And we expect to raise this money in different forms through the tariff, as we recover money from the regulator as allocated. The other one is the internal fund through the recovery of the invested activities, through commercial debt, 50 for 2026. We've already secured that one through ABSA. Back, and at same applies to 2030. We are also in discussion through the Ministry of Energy for financing of $70 million under the concession loans as organized by World Bank. Based on we are estimating a projection of capex shortfall of $338 million if we are to achieve what we are supposed to do. Chair and honorable members, the fourth question that came around was how many new connections do you plan to implement under ESP? Although I've mentioned it before, but to be specific, the agreement we signed with of Energy is to connect 896,000 customers, of which 171 customers are one pole and 724 are no pole. In total, how many customers have we connected on the network under ESP? Last we had connected about 54,000 customers. The project delayed a bit because we signed the agreement in July 2025. But we've activated contracts for supply of materials with 6 suppliers of meters, 4 suppliers of conductors and cables in order for us to catch up with the deployment of 1,019 staff in order to do connections to expedite this project. The 5th item that was raised, that what strategies are in place to reduce technical and commercial losses, vandalism, power theft, and what performance benchmark are you committing for the reliability and voltage quality? Chair and members of Parliament, on the side of technical, based on the recent study, it was established that 75% of the total loss is mainly technical. But technical losses has inputs from investment and also the support required from the transmission support backbone. Because we need to appreciate that some of the technical losses are arising from the longer distances of distribution lines. For example, in principle, a distribution line that is loading up to 4 to 6 megawatt should not exceed 60 kilometers. But even up to now, we are still serving some areas like Mityana at 33 kV. That means in the middle you expect a lot of technical losses. But and the outages, blah 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 bit. But working with transmission, and that's why the transmission investment plan is quite critical if we are to achieve the technical losses. I can also give an example of recent transmission has commissioned a substation in Kasana, that is in Ruwero. We've been supplying through a 33 kV line, Kasana up to Kaf. That's 160 kilometers, roughly. So the technical losses incurred on that line were just over and above the roof. So such investments, combined transmission and distribution, will enable us to manage technical losses, plus our 33 kV line investments in substations like Majije. We're in the final stages of concluding the land issue. Chigo, we've advertised for land there. Even Nakasero Hill, Blower, Nantabulirwa, and Muwende road management. On the side of commercial losses, Chair and members of Parliament, the balance of 24.9% relate to commercial losses. Unfortunately, we have a financing Greek here, which we've appealed to the regulator to finance us, because we need these activities to be acted upon, and we are in engagement with the regulator on that. That's what we wanted. Yeah, for this year I wanted $10 million Chair and members of the board, in conversion about 37 billion. That's what you wanted on commercial losses. And among the activities that we've had earmarked, out of the 2.4 million customers that we took over, about 12% of those customers, the meters were due for obsolescence. They were old. That means about 200,000 customers on repayment. We are at risk of having performance issues on side of energy losses. So among our activity is meter audit with energy loss recovery to customers, and also performance on obsolescence and etc. Power safety and amnesty, we've just ended the water campaign where we registered 36 customers, registered themselves that they're using power illegally, and we are now normalizing their connections. Replacement of 40 meters, we've replaced 45,000 meters so far since we took over. Meter upgrade from single to 3 phase for load balancing. We we have some areas which are using inappropriate meter levels, and we are encouraging them to upgrade their load. Application of automated meter reading technology. All the meters that we are importing and we are going to deploy the smart meter, we no longer encourage meters where we send meter readers. We want to be reading meters online, and that's the technology that we are deploying it. Also, cluster boxes for secure metering. Cluster boxes, that's when put more than 256 meters in one metallic box up at the pole with a padlock. We need to update members of parliament that the population is very serious when it comes to steel power. They can climb that pole when the need arises, however much it's difficult to climb. On the issue of vandalism, honorable members of parliament, since we took over, we suffered heavily. We had up to 331 cases of vandalism. To our supplies, about 70, they are within Kampala. And what are they vandalizing? Half a meter of a corridor of a cable, half a piece of a supply to transformer. And when it comes to the villages like Nakasongola, Mitiana, Kasanda, they are actually harvesting our ABC cables. Harvesting. They go and harvest the village. So our appeal to the population is, please be vigilant.
But where is the market for those products?
There are several markets based on intelligence. One is scrap, and the other are the subcontractors who have come on board. We as UDCL, we are advocating to stop subcontracting, but we have created an avenue for unemployment. So we opened up. Now, since we opened up, after consultation with the sector agencies and the government plus security, but seems we have to go back on the drawing board to see where the things coming from. Of recent, they are.
Don't go along with them, but you create discipline.
Honorable Chair, we've tried to create discipline. Among the discipline, that if you are to hand over to us any project done, you should present IFRIS receipts where you have bought those materials. But what we found out, these contractors collide with their clients. They present an IFRIS report on this project, the same IFRIS report on the other project, like that. So it becomes a circulating document all over. But the biggest harvest that we had, especially up country, is ABC conductor. And it is hammering us. Mainly in Luweru, Chichusa, Muwende, Michana, Kasanda, Kamuli Namasagari. And we need to thank the Minister of Energy. Since we took over, they have assisted us with huge volumes of material to replace vandalized transformers and conductors. So it is another cost that's coming on board. The next issue, Honorable Chair, is how are you implementing new tariff category for industrial consumers? I think Honorable Chair, the regulator has mentioned elaborated on that matter. We implement as per what the regulator has approved, and we've set our systems to abide by that. The next issue, Honorable Chair, is what is your plan for integrating mini-grids, off-grid systems and embedded generators into the distribution network? We have mini-grids, more than 12, embedded into the 33. And working with the transmission and means of energy, for any mini-grid that comes around, we do an assessment of the losses that will be coming on the network and ability to consume the energy within. We have some mini-grids which we're evacuating at 100%, but we also have some where we don't have capacity that we've capped. other than evacuating, say 100%, you cover 20% or 30%, because that's a variable line that can support till when the transmission grid comes onto board. It is a challenge, but we need to work with it. Or till when the local consumption increases in order to consume the generated energy. The next issue, how are you managing customer service, complaint handling, billing, accuracy, dispute resolution, and what indicators should the committee use to monitor improvement? Honorable Chair, in line with the target we have from the regulator, where the quality of service is monitored through standards on access for electricity supply. The second area is customer service and reliability. Allow me to summarize that we put up systems. For example, if there is any fault somewhere, a customer is supposed to call our toll-free. Why? We register that issue and the time it has been received. Then we start measuring how we are going to resolve the issue. That one has enhanced us to monitor our people in the field. And we've also activated it with what we call the instance, the automated instance management system. And if a customer calls and you mention I'm in Chileka, automatically the system sends the technical person on the ground a message that you have a fault, maybe around number, so take action on this, and these are contact details for the customer who has contacted us. But at the same time, on the side of metering, we've endeavored to at least to make sure that we do meter reading for the few meters that we have, which are still on postpaid. But we are upgrading all of them to be online. Customer reconnection is mainly automated, and based on our performance last year, we secured 70% as compared to the target of 75. We still have more work to do as the business stabilizes. But what are the critical issues that has given us sleepless nights? The performance of meters. Token has failed to be loaded, and also delayed connection because they applied before we took over, and now we've taken over, we've signed agreements. So what are we doing? Based on the suppliers that we've secured, we've ordered a total of 800,000 meters.
On that one alone, allow me tell the manager about my ordeal. It is everywhere.
You have actually been commenting on issue of vandalism and the materials so much that I realized you have a lot of information which you need to give us.
Yeah, this is not about vandalism. But Engineer Paul, you pay for power for a connection. They tell you it is free, but the communication you get from somebody who is going to connect you will tell you, you have to wait for 2 months to get that free connection. If you want a quick service, pay 720. You see how Ugandans end up paying for a service that is supposed to be free.
Thank you, Honorable Member of Parliament. Let me clarify on that. We have reduced the connection time. We found some customers who are in the line for more than a year. Now, our average time is between 3 to 4 months reduction. We are driving to make sure that we achieve the 5 to 10 days as per the regulator. But the hiccup that we've got, despite signing agreements with suppliers, we signed some agreements in September and December. Up to now, the deliveries are not yet finished. So we're also being led by the supply chain of equipment that's supposed to come into the country. But the message to some of the field staff, we don't manage NGOs. Some of the people have some characters. If any payment is in cash, don't allow. All the collection is collected by UDCF, either through mobile money or the bank. On that, we have two connection avenues, where it is free 100%, or where it is customer funded, self-funded. Now with the self-funded, as you apply, you select, I'm going to do self-funded. There you pay for amount of 470 as approved by the regulator. Why are we leaving that channel? Because in 2021, when every collection was 3%, was free, ECP, it caused a crisis when the cash was flowing for free connection. So that window was opened. So what happened is when somebody pays for self-funded, because he or she has paid at a premium, we have a mechanism of connecting express, like in the passport control system. But with the huge volume that we are managing now, because by the time we took over 428, we cleared them, we now connected 230. But as soon as the customer got to understand that we are now connecting, luckily enough, the application is spiked. Because now we have 440,000 customers in the pipeline who have applied, and we are putting up the connection material. That's why we've contracted supplies up to 800,000 meters to come into the country. And out of that, 250, the contracts are fully signed. Then the other balance, the contracts are in the pipeline for signing. So,
on that issue, MD, you have just said that you are working with people who are not NGOs. I have seen it myself. I was trying to connect my younger sister to your grid, but normally your field people will tell you to wait. In other words, the system delays a bit, but if you want to be connected, you can do what? Pay some money so that it is weakened. So this is prevalent in the field. That is for your information. But I've heard you lament about the vandalism. I am privileged to be a member of this committee for the last 4 years. Vandalism is terrible and is causing a lot of losses not only to the sector but even to the community. I wanted to suggest, is it possible that you come up with a policy, and I know it is workable, because at one time Parliament was moved to pass a bill to gazette some uniforms for a particular group of people, and we passed a bill. Is it possible, for example, to say that UCDL will be using a particular type of color of a transformer? For example, you say it will be green, whichever color, and whoever, whether it is a contractor that uses that same color, will have vandalized ours. Is it possible to insulate our conductors? Because I've seen it. I've seen some conductors with some insulation. Can you come up with a policy that our cables shall be insulated with either brown, a color that cannot be compromised by the heat, sun heat, so that there is no change over time, so that these other vandalisms that are done by the contractors can be mitigated? See? If you give a contract to Mwesi to do a certain project and you find him using that color, he would have vandalized it. I think we can now manage these scrap people who normally go for meters, but these villages where, because you are the one who has said it, that in Kampala they cut a piece, but in some villages they vandalize the whole village, and told us that this could be done by the contractors. So can you come up with a policy so that is blessed by this committee, and we are good to go.
Chair, on the issue of connections, I think it will be appropriate now you created a window for you call it self-funding. Now, whenever you're reporting on connections you have made, I think the regulator must be interested in knowing out of the 260, because if the regulator has said the target is 300, and out of that you may find that the biggest majority are Ugandans funding it, we need to know how much of the connections are self-funded and how much of the connections are funded under ACP.
Yes. Thank you, Chair. Chair, I thought we would leave the team to present, and at the end we come up with the issues, because the issues are many and some of us are wondering, should we come in and also request? So I'm just requesting you to allow the team to present, and then, because a member like Honorable Samba is very good at chipping in, which is really not good for some of us.
Chair, can I proceed?
We had given the floor for presentation, but we have colleagues who want to continuously keep, So members, let us accord them appropriate time to present. You hold those issues, you'll have an opportunity to put them to. Absolutely.
Honorable Chair, thank you very much. Let me start from the comment with the submitted before I go back to the presentation. Chair, the policy on identifying our items as marked, all the orders that we make, for example, on that ABC conductor, they come with the UDCL, property of UDCL, including the meters. So, but it is an effort that we need to do. Then the other issue on connection, how many connections are still funded? Out of the 235 that we've connected, about 24,000 are still funded. The rest are free connections. So, but the biggest chunk of the 24 are raised from the opening balance that we had. Chair, allow me to proceed on the presentation as per the document on page 108. That is issue number 9. What are your key implementation risks in terms of funding gap, land acquisition, vandalism, and capacity? I've talked about vandalism, Chair, but let me talk about the critical issue which we need to address as a country. Since we took over, Chair, the maximum demand was 986. I need to bring this one to the floor of barrier of this committee. 986 megawatts. So having done some few configuration on the network and optimization of the feeder plus substation, plus also the new connection that we've done, we'll see the spike in the demand to 1,188. So that one is equivalent to about 20.4%. From the analysis that we have, by the time we finish to deploy the investment that we will have, even clear the backlog on the investment, we are likely to open the surplus demand that will spike further to more than 1,400. So we need to keep a close eye. Installing capacity, then available. So we are very soon hitting the maximum. And we need to prepare the population of the alternative supply, if not load shedding. That's why I've indicated the lack of sufficient electricity generation supply in the medium term. Medium term is 2 to 3 years from now. Because even now, the failure of one generation plant, say Narubare, drives us to load shedding, supply. So the other one is lack of financing for investment. As I've mentioned, our investment plan has a deficit of 338, and in the case we don't perform, we recognize a financial penalty, but we also need to appreciate that some of the financial penalties from the regulator, they are coming from very stringent targets, which are not even comparable even in Africa. Because I'm not very sure, but we have engaged in the negotiation with the regulator. Yes. Then the other exposure is low staff productivity due uncertainty on contract tenure. All our contracts expiring on the 30th of June because of RAPEX. So, and we're also seeing some resignations here and there from different angles. So that one needs to be worked out, but the Minister of Energy is handling that through Cabinet. Then investment budget overrun is due to increase in the price of aluminium. We've seen an increase in the prices across the world, especially steel and aluminium. So the price have increased by 40%, and now some of the suppliers have stopped, and we've gone back to the drawing board of negotiating, which is fairly a challenge to us. The challenge is the delay of implementation of investment. We need to appreciate, Honorable Chair and members of Parliament, that we are deploying investments which are mainly civil. And the civil works, there is a life cycle for planning, procurement, execution. So our plan that we've engaged with the regulator, that if the investment for this year, for example, to happen should be approved like 18 months before. But that's the arrangement that we've gone in, and we've also submitted our 5-year investment plan starting from 2028 to 2033. Why? In order for us to achieve that lead time issue. Honorable Chair, the last issue is the Kamiyufu, who are disturbing us on the network. But we need to thank the security agencies. Since we started operating as a power distributor across the country, we've arrested about 6 or 7 suspects on the network, and the utility court is handling appropriately. Chair, with that, I submit through my minister.
So, Honorable Chair, last but not least, allow us invite Mr. Daniel Kenya Yiga on behalf of the Managing Director, UECCC, Uganda Energy Credit Capitalization Company, Mr. Yiga.
Madam PS, we have been meeting UECCC several times, and I know the issues are not very many. So if they could give us an overview in the shortest possible time, but also later you will give us in writing. The last financial year we gave you 26 billion shillings. This financial year we gave you 26 billion shillings. Would be interested in knowing what did you do with that money? What is the output? Thank you.
Whether you have a short form, summarize.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Chair. I think I'll go to the issues. That will save a lot of time for us. So the first issue pertains to sources of funds. Our funds are provided by the government of Uganda and the development partners that we work with, and they are broken down into wage, non-wage, as well as development from government of Uganda, as well as for development partners who support us with the work that we do in the field. And I'll mention something about that in the presentation. For 2026-2027, we are looking out for 4.6 billion, that is for staff costs, and then we are looking out for, that will come from the wage bill from the government of Uganda.
Then non-wage from Government of Uganda, we're looking at 5 billion. That will support with project implementation and supervision, particularly looking at marketing, communications, information technology, as well as administration costs. Then for the Oreo project, where we have a number of hydropower dams under construction, we're looking at Government of Uganda under the development column, affording us with 7 billion Uganda shillings. And this will go to civil works, electromechanical and owner engineer works, design and construction of the distribution network from the hydropower dams that are being worked on. On the front of development partners' contribution, that is off balance sheet and as such does not appear on this report. Under electricity access scale-up project, we have technical assistance for participating financial institutions as well as ESCOs on implementation of EASP, health and safety, capacity building, marketing and communications, information technology, administration, and other attendant costs. And we are looking at Government of Uganda under the development column, affording us 2 billion Uganda shillings. The rest of the funds under the EAS project are afforded to us under World Bank, which supports us with implementing the credit support facility to financial institutions, reserve-based financing to the enterprise service organizations, as well as direct lending to enterprise service organizations. We also have a line there for capacity building for financial institutions as well as enterprise support companies. Altogether, we are looking at 18.4 billion Uganda shillings in the new financial year to enable us proceed with the good work that we've been doing over the last years that we've been in existence. On number 2, what specific technologies we deploy under UECCC? We have standalone solar systems and lanterns. We also look out for productive use of energy technologies such as solar water pumps, solar irrigation units, and cooling systems. Grain milling machines, solar grain milling machines, solar water heating systems, and several other technologies as they arise and get approved for our program. We also look at clean cooking solutions, especially those powered by liquefied petroleum gas, which is quite a new front that has been supported by the Government of Uganda, and we've seen a lot of traction in terms of uptake with our partners like Vivo Energy, Total, and several other petroleum companies that are working in the country. We're also looking at electricity uptake, especially stimulating demand for consumption of on-grid electricity with regard to cooking, solar, ethanol, biogas, as well as biomass, improved biomass sources of energy. Right now, the country is consuming a lot more biomass, and we are trying to scale that down by way of promoting the other technologies that will support the population. The ES project, unfortunately, is expected to reach closure in June 2027, and we are looking at other sources of funding that we are working on, and will report to you as and when those come to fruition. On issue number 3, the question was in regard to how we assess and manage credit risk in participating financial institutions. Quite a bit of the team working at UECCC are ex-bankers with deep experience, and we are drawing from those skills to be able to provide overseeing of this process. So we apply a structured credit risk management framework where our posture is to make sure that every shilling that is invested is impactful or has several lives, so that we have value for money in the work that we do with participating financial institutions. We also carry out comprehensive due diligence with the financial institutions that we work with and currently we are working with about 9 that are active out of 35 that we pre-qualified. So we look at areas like governance, operational capacity, credit management systems, regulatory compliance, as well as the performance of these financial institutions. You must be seeing quite a number of them appearing in the papers reporting their financial reports. So that's also one of the sources of information that we work with to give us pointers of who to approach. Depending on the financing structure under ES, we provide lines of credit to these financial institutions that I've just mentioned to support them to on-lend to enterprise support organizations. And I'll draw from my experience as an ex-banker here. The renewable energy space has not been given a lot of attention by the banking industry. But there is a lot of traction coming from partners who are providing business development support services to support these enterprises to be able to provide the products and services that they do. And they have become more articulate and confident when dealing with financial institutions. And we are seeing the ECCC leading the surge on that by being able to provide de-risking for these financial institutions in order to lend more money to companies that are engaged in renewable energy. We also provide partial credit guarantees, and that is part of the aspects that we leverage on to de-risk lending to energy support companies that are active in the country. Then there is a risk that we also mitigate, and that is the technology risk guarantee that we use. Some technologies are new and mostly from China and the Eastern Tiger countries, and there's a risk of these technologies failing. There's a risk of them not being able to deliver what they are meant to. So there's that particular guarantee that we provide to make sure that we have traction on that front. Then when it comes to portfolio monitoring, that area is robustly managed, where we have these financial institutions having periodic reports being presented to us to see how they are performing on their portfolio and how much uptake there is on the renewable energy products that we try to support. Then we also monitor beneficiaries to confirm utilization of funds that are afforded to the financial institutions. Just recently, a team of my colleagues went out across the country to make sure that what is said to be deployed in the market is exactly deployed with specific, geo-positioning of this deployment of products. Then, yes. Then issue 4 is with regard to concrete contribution to government targets. Yes, in 2026-2027 we expect to reach 100,000 households with off-grid solar access, 90,000 households with clean cooking solutions, as well as 4,000 enterprises with productive use technologies. And this is an area that I believe our members of parliament will be interested in, to make sure that there is a lot more generation of funds from the farmers that we work with in the grassroots. The overall project targets for off-grid solar, we are looking at 490,000 households, of which to date we have done 414,000 households. For clean cooking solutions, we are looking at 350,000 households, of which to date we have done 259,000 households. And I note also we are dealing and working closely with refugee hosting locations to make sure that we cover the whole country and there are more beneficiaries. For productive use, we are looking at a target of 9,000 systems. So far, we have done 3,750, and we are expecting to be more bullish in the coming year to make sure that this particular area is given enough attention and uptake. On issue number 5, we are supporting the private sector on areas of market activations, working capital facilities, as well as technical assistance. With regard to market activations, there are technologies that we bring on the market through our ESCOs that we work with, and the market needs, the public needs to be educated on how to use these technologies. We don't want to just push them. So the market activations are also supporting on the front end more and more uptake of the technologies that we are deploying under UTPOC in partnership with the ESCOs that we work with. Then on the constraints that we have at UTPOC, one that is very salient is lack of facilitation of awareness activities, enough facilitation of awareness activities that I've just mentioned. So on that front, we need budget support to make sure that the quantity is already placed in the budget. So I think that's about it, PS.
Thank you, Mr. Kenya. Chairman will revert back to you. That closes the agency's submissions.
I can say Honorable Kasese is very, very happy. I don't know if you hurry to take leave from here. You're not very sure. You're doubting our capacity. If we can give you all the budget requirements, why not just a million? Mr. Chairman, please, I think a man like Honorable Samba will need you because he has a lot of issues he wants to raise. The last time we had a cordial meeting with him is when I was arbitrating between him and Honorable Kasese, and they are now friends. They are now peaceful. But that was in Karuma. And unfortunately, Madam PS, when Karuma and the Honorable Minister kept us, the Honorable Minister kept us there. The Honorable Minister kept us there for 3 days. And these colleagues were there, and because the community was very charged, they had been waiting for resettlement for 13 years. I don't know if you have allocated enough money to...
Liberty TV. Your window to the world.